Happy Monday to you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on Unscripted. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. For most of us, we started off our work week with some pretty warm temperatures, but a lot of wind. Now, some rain is starting to head into the area, and that could potentially cause some severe weather. So for more on that, let's turn things over to our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. And Joe, what can we expect tonight?
Well, quiet weather right now. In fact, we've had high fire danger in spots today because of how dry and warm it was. But later tonight, that is going to change. We've had some rain up in the UP if you're tuned in there. But other areas will see that tonight. And it will be most likely a round of thunderstorms crossing through here. And there is some potential. It's not a slam dunk that it's definitely going to happen. But there is the chance for some severe weather tonight. Large hail, maybe some stronger winds. We'll keep an eye on that. And then, Maya, we're looking at a big cool down tomorrow. It's one of those days that'll be warmer in the morning and then cool through the day. So we'll talk about all that coming up a little later.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe. Our top story tonight takes us to Benzie County, where a deadly crash last night impacted a high school golf team. So the sheriff's office says multiple members and the coach of the Charlevoix boys golf team were taken to Munson Medical Center in Traverse City. It's after a man who was wanted in Antrim County crossed the center line and hit the van the team was traveling in. The Antrim County Sheriff's Office says that the man was wanted for assaulting a woman he was dating and then stealing her vehicle. That man was pronounced dead at the scene. Our Allie Baxter has more details.
It's a difficult situation for everyone.
State police say Sunday night, a Benzie County Sheriff deputy was trying to pull over the driver of a stolen vehicle when that driver crossed the center line and collided with a van.
There was a BOL out for this particular SUV, and when they did spot the vehicle, they attempted to stop it.
Law enforcement sources confirm 32-year-old Michael Austin Plichta is the person they were told to be on the lookout for. He has a record with the Michigan Department of Corrections for aggravated stalking and arson. The Antrim County Sheriff's Office was looking for him Saturday after a 19-year-old woman reported he choked and kicked her in the face before stealing her Ford Escape.
The previous incident does play a factor in what happened yesterday evening. So we're going to take all those facts into consideration when we submit anything, if anything's submitted to the prosecutor's office for review.
The Benzie County Sheriff's Office says all 7 people in the van were taken to Munson Medical Center. Inside were members of the Charlevoix boys golf team and their coach. Charlevoix Public Schools released a statement explaining the team was traveling to their hotel, and it's a difficult time for the school community.
This is an horrific crash, and it's so unfortunate that this had occurred yesterday. And we are utilizing all of our Michigan State Police resources to make sure that this is investigated to the fullest. We are working with the Sheriff's Office, both Antrim and Benzie County. We want to make sure that we get the correct answers.
That was Allie Baxter reporting. We have continuing coverage on the PFAS situation in Cadillac. Now, despite concerns, the city of Cadillac says water coming from its 2 well fields, it is safe and it is PFAS free according to testing. The city of Cadillac has 2 well fields, one on East 44 Road and another on Crosby Road. And with more residents testing their own private wells for PFAS chemicals, the city is getting a lot of calls about its municipal wells. And the utilities director for the city of Cadillac, Jeff Dietlin, says the city wells are drilled deeper than a typical homeowner's wells, and that creates more layers of protection. Take a listen to what he had to say.
In this area, we have at least 3 defined aquifers, top layer, intermediate, and then the deeper aquifer. And the city's, all its well fields are into the 3rd aquifer. So what that means is there's multiple clay layers between the surface and the water we're getting. And though each clay layer will protect the water beneath it from contamination.
And Dietlin says the city's water gets tested once a year by Eagle. He says if a well site did become contaminated with PFAS, the city would shut it down for decontamination immediately. He also says the city would still be able to maintain water supply using another well field. All right, switching gears now. We are very close to bird migration here in northern Michigan, a very exciting time of the year for all of our bird watchers out there. And meteorologist Trevor Robideau spoke to some experts about bird migration and has some tips and resources for all you bird watchers watching.
It's migration season, and that means all of our favorite spring and summer birds are on their way back to Michigan.
So birds migrate primarily for two reasons. It's for food and for nesting. And in terms of food, a lot of species have very specific food requirements. For instance, chimney swifts can eat up to 1,000 insects in a day. And so they have to follow that food.
Here in northern Michigan, our peak bird migration is not quite here, but it is very close.
So peak migration in northern Michigan is typically around in the first half of May, typically the second week of May.
Birds love to migrate at night to avoid predators, so many bird watchers will get up very early to experience the magic you can't get any other time of the year.
It's great to be out early mornings when they're really singing. Any time of a day you can be out birding, but mornings are kind of special. That's why they call it Dawn's Chorus, when all the birds are really starting to sing.
I love waking up on a spring morning with the window open and hearing 5 or 6 or 10 new species that blew in overnight. It's like, forget breakfast. I got the binoculars. I'm out the door.
There are tons of tools you can use to see the number of birds that arrive in northern Michigan, as well as how many are expected to come in.
The website Birdcast is a great resource for that. It shows it's based on radar returns from Doppler radar.
They have maps of the whole country showing forecast migration intensity.
More than just personal entertainment, bird watchers say the real beauty is enjoying nature and interacting with the great community of bird watchers.
Oh, you start to notice other things. You start to notice spring flowers or certain plants. So it really taking that time to kind of slow down, be out in nature, listen, and look. You start to see so much more and have so much more appreciation for the environment.
And if you want to join the Michigan Audubon, membership is just $30 a year. But bird watching itself is not difficult to get into.
You don't have to make a huge investment until you really feel like you're hooked.
In northern Michigan, Trevor Robideau, UpNorthLive News.
That sounds pretty nice. I think I might have to get into bird watching. Sounds like something that I could definitely benefit from. All right, we are looking ahead to a story that we are working on for our 11 o'clock newscast tonight. So the Chain of Lakes Water Trail has officially been named the first pure Michigan water trail. So for more on that, let's turn things over to Cody Berry. He's joining us live now from our content center. Cody, this is a story that you are working on at 11. First of all, let's start off by talking about what exactly does this mean, a pure Michigan water trail? What will that entail?
Yeah, Maya. So the DNR and Pure Michigan, it's really a recognition. It's multiple trails, not just water that they do. And as you mentioned, this was the first water one. So in general, they'll have a whole bunch of trails, and there's a few that are being recognized as a Pure Michigan trail. And it's really kind of recognizing the team behind the trail as well as the experience there. And as you mentioned, this one is the very first Pure Michigan water trail. So it's a cool recognition. There will be signs from the DNR and Pure Michigan around kind of recognizing it there. And if you go to MyGov, there's a list of Pure Michigan trails, and on there, and the only water trail is this one.
So do you think a goal of this designation is to get more people aware that this exists and get more people to come to the Chain of Lakes Water Trail?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the case for, all of these trails, because it's good for everyone, including businesses around the areas and people who want to go and visit trails, right? So you want to know which trails are the best, or if I'm going to go on a water trail and I want to go paddling, which water trail is the best. And that's one of the ways you can go and look on MyGov, and it'll show a whole bunch of, based on experience and the team staff, which ones are some of the best ones recognized that way.
And Cody, obviously, as being a reporter here, we cover a very large area in northern Michigan. So for those who are not super familiar with the Chain of Lakes Water Trail, can you give us a little information on that?
Yeah, so it's included in Grand Traverse County, Antrim County, Kalkaska County, Charlevoix County. So it's 12 lakes, all within those counties, and a whole bunch of interconnected rivers that will go with those. So one of the biggest one is Torch Lake, and It's a whole bunch of lakes, and there's an upper chain and a lower chain. And tonight at 11, I can get a little more into detail about which ones, which experience you'd expect at both. But there is that upper chain and lower chain in those 4 counties. Some of the water even goes into Grand Traverse Bay.
And as you mentioned, this will just be the first Pure Michigan water trail. So I'm assuming those plans to have other water trails throughout the state with a similar designation in the future?
Yeah, it's something that Pure Michigan and the DNR may look at. Now, I was talking with Dina Jarity, who's the executive director of Paddle Antrim, who helps to host this water trail. She says there's 10 of them across the state in total. This was the first one. So if the DNR and Pure Michigan looks to designate more based on experience, that's something they'll do. But they're excited to be the first one for sure.
Definitely an honor to be the first one. And Cody, before we let you go, I want to ask you our question of the day, which for viewers, we will pull it up in full screen in a couple minutes. But on a lot of different bodies of water across northern Michigan, there's so much you can do out in the water, especially in the summertime. So what is your favorite summertime water activity?
Yeah, so Maya, you're going to think I'm crazy, but, and this is kind of a spoiler of some of the answer choices. I've never been canoeing before.
Okay.
And I've only been kayaking a couple times ever. Down in North Carolina, of course, there are lakes, but it's not known for the lakes like here. So this will be one of, my first summers up here. But so I'm going to go with swimming. It's one of those that's an easy one. You can swim in the pool, you can swim in the lake, but I'm excited. Even when I was out there doing this and looking at the water trail, it just especially on a day like today, it makes you want to jump into the lake and go for a swim.
Definitely. And you don't need any other equipment to go
Exactly.
swimming.
It's so easy. You can just jump on in.
We'll have to pick up a canoe or a kayak this summer and get out on some of these bodies of water. Anything else that you want to let us know about your story coming up tonight on Up North Live News at 11?
Yeah, this is an exciting thing for the community because it does have an impact on the community. Mm-hmm. There's also an economic impact in bringing people from outside the community into it to visit and to do that. So tonight at 11, I'll break that down a little bit more as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Cody. Looking forward to your full report tonight at 11. But now let's take a look at that question of the day that we were just talking about. So what is your favorite summer water activity? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That will take you to our website, UpNorthLive.com, where you can vote. We listed a bunch of options. So right now we have kayaking, canoeing, water ski / wakeboarding, fishing, paddleboarding, boating, swimming, and other. And it looks like right now the number one choice is fishing, but 18% of voters said other. And I've said this, I think, last week, but if you vote other, I think you should comment what you mean by other. I know there are so many different things you can do on the water, and we just listed a couple popular ones. So if you do vote other, make sure you leave a comment either on our Facebook page where we have a post with our question of the day, or you can leave it right on this live stream if you are watching it on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And we will, as always, take a look at our live results toward the end of the show. But we're going to take a quick commercial break right now. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, Joe will have much more on your forecast. He mentioned the potential for some severe weather overnight, and then it sounds like tomorrow is going to be an interesting temperature day with some warmer temperatures in the morning, but then it's going to cool down. So Joe will have all the details and break that down for you coming up in just a couple of minutes.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Well, the day started off pretty warm and windy for most of us across northern Michigan, which created some high fire risk. But now some showers are starting to fall, especially in the upper peninsula. And sounds like later tonight, a lot of us will see some of these showers, and that could create some severe weather. So for more details, let's turn things over to Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, so fire danger, and then later tonight, storms, and then wind and a lot cooler weather coming in tomorrow. In fact, if you're in the UP tomorrow, north of Newberry, you might even see a wet snowflake in the afternoon. So that's kind of the situation. I want to start off, though, with kind of the watches and warnings we have, and you see those pink areas. That is a red flag warning. The computer calls this a fire weather warning, but it's for elevated fire danger. We had many more counties, but west of the interstate, those have been allowed to expire. This is until 8 o'clock tonight, so a little over an hour and change left on that. All right, there are three big things. Stronger storms possible tonight, mainly after midnight. We do have a big drop in temperatures coming up Tuesday. Tomorrow morning, it's going to be warm in spots, 50s and 60s. We're going to end the day in the 30s and 40s. And then we have wet weather returning on Thursday. So if you have plans Thursday, just know it looks kind of wet, at least as of right now. Low pressure sits southwest of Minneapolis tonight with a warm front, that red line extending off of that. And the parameters are there for severe weather. We haven't had much in our area. Well, we haven't had any severe weather here locally, but we did have some rain earlier. I'll zoom in there, kind of see this. A little bit of rain earlier across the UP. Some thunderstorms up over eastern Lake Superior. Let me take the satellite picture off here so it's a little easier to see. And then there are some additional thunderstorms over in the west and central UP, including a severe thunderstorm there near Iron River, where there are warnings on that. And then we have tornado watches, those big red boxes, including the Minneapolis area, with a couple of tornado warnings. I'll take the radar off. So those red boxes right there, including over Owatonna, Minnesota, that's where we do have tornado warnings currently associated with those thunderstorms. You're probably wondering what happens here. We should see weakening storms. The main risk for severe weather is west of us, out toward the Mississippi River tonight. But here's what we expect. The latest model data coming in has a line of thunderstorms forming across the UP in central Wisconsin right there. This is around 10:30, 11. So this will be later tonight. And then these storms roll into northern Michigan by 1, 2 o'clock. There is the chance here for some large hail, damaging winds, perhaps a brief tornado spin up. It's far from certain, though. But we will watch that. I'll be here late tonight. Meteorologist Heather Bricka will be in as well. But these storms tapering off then late tonight before winding down tomorrow. And then we'll have a nice day coming up on Wednesday right there. And then here's that next round of rain for Thursday entering the picture. Maya talked earlier about the cool down that I was going to mention in the morning. So here's the temperatures around 7:30 in the morning. It's going to feel like summer in spots tonight. I mean, in July, we stay in the 60s at night, and that's a warm night. So it'll feel like that tonight. That's in the morning. Watch by the time you get home from work and school, 30s and 40s. So you'll feel that tomorrow. It's going to definitely drop pretty quickly. Those temperatures crashing. And there is a look at our extended forecast. Dry Wednesday, and there's that rain coming in on Thursday. It does look wet. We cool into the 40s Friday. And after that, there are signs, though, we're going to start warming right back up again. High pressure will build in. We should get a nice weekend in here, in some spots back into the 70s by next Monday. So, Maya, those storms still several hours away, but we'll be keeping an eye on them here overnight tonight.
All right. Good to know. Thanks so much, Joe. Let's take another quick break. But over on the other side of the break, we'll check in with sports director Harrison Beebe. We will have a recap of yesterday's Pistons game against the Knicks straight ahead. Well, the Pistons were just 1 point and potentially one missed call away from tying up their playoff series against the Knicks. For a deeper recap of that game, let's turn things over to sports director Harrison Beebe. Hey, Harrison, what do you think of that? The final no call.
My playoff basketball is a very different animal than regular season basketball, and that's what the Piston fans and, more importantly, the Detroit Pistons as a team, I think, are learning this postseason, because they were one of the stories of the regular season, just tripling that win total and having all that experience that, rolled over from last year and all that losing, kind of motivating them to get back to winning ways. And who would have thought we'd see them in a 3-6 matchup in the playoffs and look competitive in all 4 games at that. But I think what we're learning throughout this series is what I kind of feared going into, is that New York has had playoff experience before. They have all-star guys at the ready. And Cade Cunningham is an all-star in his own right, but you can see that the moment is just a little, that being in that moment is a little more unfamiliar for him than it is for a Jalen Brunson or a Karl-Anthony Towns to get in there and make the big plays. But you referred to the big play at the end with Tim Hardaway Jr. getting bumped by Josh Hart. Mm-hmm. And yes, there is contact there. And yes, the referees did say after the fact that probably should have been a whistle, probably should have been free throws. I'm reminded of the Dan Skipper play with the Lions last year against the Cowboys, where the league basically said there might have been something that should have been called there that wasn't. I'm reminded of the Armando Galarraga game where they ruled the runner safe for the perfect game that robbed him of something that very rarely anybody gets in the history of baseball. And Armando Galarraga took it like a true pro, a champion, and really showed like, hey, these are sports. Referees make mistakes. Players make mistakes. It's unfortunate that it doesn't happen. It is unfortunate that it's in that spot where the series could have been 2-2 and now it's 3-1 and the Pistons have to win all 3 of those games now, 2 of them on the road. So it's going to be tough. But at the end of the day, it is sports. These things do happen, and they still have a chance. And let me reinforce, all 4 games have been very competitive. So there is a believable way that they can still make this an interesting series.
It's just unfortunate that they couldn't get a win at home, because now they're back on the road in New York, which, of course, is a very tough environment to play in.
It will be. But, hey, let's see how they do. We still got time.
It's happened before. Teams can come back from being down
13
3-1.
of them, as a matter of fact.
All right, Harrison, thanks so much for joining us for that sports update. We are going to take our last commercial break now, and we will take a look at those live results for our question of the day straight ahead.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Well, summer is right around the corner here in northern Michigan, so we want to know what your favorite summer water activity is. If you haven't voted yet, head to our website, UpNorthLive.com. But it looks like the number one answer with 27% of the vote is fishing, followed by boating, and then kayaking. No votes for water skiing, wakeboarding, or for paddle boarding. Interesting. Okay, 1% says paddleboarding, but no votes for water skiing or wakeboarding. On our Facebook page, we have a few comments. It looks like Casey says, voting easy as long as I'm not the one who has to supply the vote. I agree with that one, Casey. All right, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here at 11 o'clock tonight.